Hey everyone, it's Casey here, GP and founder of MBSPro, an AI scribe and AI suite of tools that's aimed at general practice. So I just want to do a bit of a update. So a couple of things that have happened recently, I've purchased a couple of other clinics. So we've got 4 clinics across the group. So called it Going Medical Group. Anyway, Going Medical Group, GMG. I thought that had a ring to it. So we've got 4 clinics. We've got 3 GP clinics and an allied health clinic. We find there's a lot of synergy between the practices. What I have, this is a personal belief, and I think it is that clinics that have less than 5 GPs are going to find it really hard to keep the doors open. Clinics less than 10 GPs even more, even not more so, but just as much so. I think it's a really hard proposition, just based on what I've seen with the metrics, with the data, financials, things like that. Like it's really hard to keep your doors open when you're less than 5 GPs. So what we're finding is between the group, we've got 60 plus clinicians. That's really helpful. What that means is that, for example, our allied health clinic, which has psychologists, physiotherapists, OTs, they can go to each of the clinics and say, look, I do these special types of things. For example, we have psychologists, which are really great, that do ADHD assessments, right? And they can help out at any of the clinics doing those assessments. And that's like a super synergistic thing you wouldn't have had if you're in a smaller clinic. Likewise, we have some GPs that help out in the after hours on different clinics. You don't need to have every single clinic open in after hours, right? But you might have one clinic that's open because they're all pretty close together. And that provides a lot of synergy because all the GPs can operate out of one clinic on like the Saturday or the Sunday, and that's awesome. That makes it really efficient. So we're working through like efficiencies between the practices, like IT. So putting all IT between the same, that means the IT provider, but also the IT and software programs that we're using in between the practices. So things like best practice, which is the PMS, MBSPro, which we use a lot, all those sorts of things which the teams get behind, which is great. And then even just other things like teaching. You'll find that every GP clinic and every GP has their own flavor. And what that means is that if you are a registrar and you only work at one smaller clinic, you may not get the full breadth of care that would be necessary to even pass exams or even just become familiar with different clinical presentations. So if you are working either between practices or have education from multiple different practices, you can see exactly what's required to sit the exams, which are really broad, but also you can get the flavor of each practice. And I think that's like a really super cool thing, and I think that's really valuable. So as a group, we can provide really great like teaching and education because we've got so much knowledge to pull from. So that's like a really awesome thing as well. A few other sort of I've said a lot of good things. What can be tricky? It can be really tricky, I guess, setting the like getting around to each practice. Like, I'm only one person, me and my wife do it, my wife's a GP. And that can be hard, you've only got so many hours in a day. So what we've done is we've sort of hired a group of people, and I'm going to talk about this in probably the next video, which is how we hired our COO, Chief Operating Officer. But getting between all the practices can be tricky, so we've hired someone to help that out with. The general structure is that every practice has a practice manager. The Allied Health Centre does hang off our my medical centre. So that's like good and bad. Sometimes I think it probably needs its own practice manager, just to keep things sort of running there. It's just legacy reasons. It's just always been associated with that centre, so that's why it's sort of hanging off. But all the other practices have their own practice manager, head receptionists, admin, things like that. So there's probably a bit of synergy that we can do, and we are doing. So we got all the practice managers together, we've got our COO, and I think that's working fine. In terms of expansion, love to expand, love to get some other clinics. I think there's a lot to be said to having sort of the synergies between the practices, and I can see why these larger practices like 4Health, My Health, Family Doctor, etc. I can really see the value in having like a big group and the value that would provide to not only the clinicians, but from a practice ownership point of view, like a lot of efficiency. So that's sort of where we're at. That's the Going Medical Group, and then MBSPro, which we're sort of developing alongside because we use it every day in practice, which makes it really easy to test, fine tune, and then ensure that it's working well for everyone else that uses it. So that's a bit of a quick update of where we're at with Going Medical Group and where we're sort of going in the future.